Bridging the Gap Between Social Media and Your Life's Work. So let me know in the comments, what is your life's work? Like, what comes to you right away? What's your life's work? Write it down in the comments. Hello, Katie Lauren. hello. Katie is part of the Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Method team. So she is here to support us via spirit. So what is your life's work? That's the first question. And again, as you answer the questions, let them just flow through. That's what free flow writing is. You know, it's allowing whatever it is that is, you know, in your dreamscape, in your subconscious, just to kind of flow out, because sometimes it can remain like that. It can remain like a dream, all of your thoughts, all your visions, all your dreams. And until you actually take a step to take it out of that space and into the world and testifying it in front of people, that's when it starts to manifest in physical reality. So, Katie, Claudia, what is your life's work? You know, and again, there's always different iterations. So, you know, there's no wrong answer, but there is an answer inside. And so let yourself respond to that question. What is your life's work? Write it down in the comments. I want to hear that. Okay. So this workshop is for you if you really feel like you need to, you're trying to figure out this social media thing and how to bridge the gap between social media and actually utilizing your platforms. Okay, because what is a platform? Platform is literally, if you want to visually imagine it, as literally you're standing on a podium and there are people in front of you, whether that's one person, whether that's two people, and you always want to start at zero, right? Whether that's you, like, right? You're standing on the podium yourself and speaking your truth, right? So how is it that we take this social media, these social media platforms, right, and utilize it as we stand centered, 2 feet on the ground in our truth, to express our truth, to express what it is that we're offering, to express what it is we're doing in our business, to express a way of letting people know, hey, this is what I do and this is my service, and I would like to offer it to those who are, you know, ready for it. Okay, so if that is, you know, something that you're wondering about, then this workshop is for you today. So Katie says, transformation of the soul through self-awareness and meditation, taking responsibility for my life and action. So Katie's life work is transformation of the soul, self-awareness and meditation, taking responsibility for my life through action. I love that. So let that sink in, because, you know, even as you write it, sometimes you write things and you're like, oh, that came out of me. Oh my goodness. So allow yourself, Katie, to kind of take that in, right? And really read it, because your soul is speaking through you. And that's what I also believe too. Even though it's us here, there's also universe kind of coming through us and giving us the ability to exchange what it is that needs to happen right now. Okay? So I want to start with questions, because this is how I always start these workshops. Okay? What is your relationship / perspective with social media, and how do you see it? Okay, so, right? What is your relationship / perspective with social media, and how do you use it? Okay, so what is your relationship? I want you guys to write that down. What is your relationship? It's just kind of like if you said, well, what's your relationship with Jamie? You'd be able to say, well, you know, or what's your relationship with your mom, right? There is a relationship that the way we relate to everything, right? So when it comes to social media, what's your relationship? Write that down. And again, this is almost like an open book journal, and it giving you the opportunity to do the work now, instead of like, oh, let me think about it and then I'll go off and do it. It's like, now is the time. You know, we're here. I'm here for you. So might as well workshop it right now in real time. And for those, I know a lot of people are watching the replay, so think of it as also real time, right? right? When you guys are coming back for the replay, think of it as real time, like, okay, Jamie's here with me. All right, let me like answer, because I'm going to come back, right? And I'm going to see what you guys have to say. So tell me, what is your relationship with social media? What is your perspective, right? And how do you use it? Now, a couple of things. Number one, you're like, it's just kind of there. Social media is just kind of there, and I kind of use it for fun. Just there. I post my dog, post my vacation, post what I eat, like it's just there, right? Number two, I end up, so this could be your possible relationships with social media. I end up going down a rabbit hole, and I'm like in the scrolling, and then I'm in comparing myself, and then I get lost in information. Okay, raise your hand if that is you. We all have been there. Say hello if you're here. I always see the I, and then I see the number, and I don't know who's here. Okay, and then number three, I've tried a few things, but I haven't seen the rate on return on my investment. So not just also means money, but it also means your time. It also means, are you the rate of return on your investment? Meaning I put in some time, maybe I put in some money, maybe I put in some effort, and I'm not seeing a rate of return. That could be money, but that also can mean community, right? That also can mean potential clients, right? That also can mean networking. So like very often I'll do these workshops, and I have a lot of coach friends, and then they have their own podcasts, and they're like, oh, hey, Jamie, you want to talk about spiritual entrepreneurship on my podcast? Like, sure, cool, right? And also sometimes it's just cheerleaders. Sometimes not just, sorry, there are cheerleaders, other coach friends who are like, yeah, girl, and they're just listening to you because there is an exchange, because we're kind of doing the sort of similar things. And just by listening to each other, it helps each other kind of, encourage, like your own life's work. So sometimes we have that, right? We have friends who are like, yes, you do it, girl. Like, oh my gosh, or guy, or whatever you want to say. So Claudia says, my life work is guide people to channel their soul's life's purpose and recognize their hidden gifts. Okay, so take that in. My life's work is to guide people to channel their soul's life purpose and to recognize their hidden gifts. To guide, right? And recognize their hidden gifts. And so what you want to start to also see, Katie and Claudia, is like, how does that live in my house? How have I moved myself through that purpose, right? Because usually your purpose, your life's work aligns with your own heroine journey, right? Your own journey. So you want to start to look back, like how is that actually living out in my actual life? Okay, because sometimes we have this like our life's work, and then we kind of almost separate ourselves from it. We're like, oh my God, and it's out there. But it's like the reason why you're saying that is because you've been living it. Okay, so that's what I want you to realize. Your assets are already in your back pocket. Your life's work is already you. You're living it. Okay, so I want you to recognize yourself in your own words, because sometimes we almost separate ourselves from, we put on these goals and these visions, and then it's like, yeah, there. But it's like, oh, that's me. That's me. And I'm doing that, and I'm doing that now. Okay? So, and I know you guys are doing that now. So, all right. So what's your relationship and perspective with social media? I said, it's just there for fun. I end up going down a rabbit hole. That's number two. I end up going down a rabbit hole and go into this comparison thing. And then after, I also kind of like information overload. We're like, and then after like 2 hours later, you're like, what happened, right? You are like in this vortex. Or you've tried a couple of things, and then your rate of return wasn't really necessarily what you've expected. Okay, and expectation means money, means potential clients, means community, means one big thing that we don't necessarily think of is capability, right? So I'm here building this capability of like being able to give this workshop, like this hour-long workshop, to a screen, to people, you know, like I'm doing it through a screen, but there are actually people on the other side, right? So there's that. And just to come here and continue to commit to my own life's work, okay? So Katie says, I have resistance towards Instagram, but I enjoy Facebook, and I'm more at ease using it to promote my work. I've recently been warming up to YouTube, preparing to put myself out there on that platform. I see its value and not harnessed it yet. Otherwise, I try to stay away and not get lost in scrolling. I've been specifically chosen to follow accounts and post things that make me feel good, which is beautiful. Yeah, you know, that's it. That's something actually we're going to talk about. And number 4 is, it's been positive rate of return. It means that I've actually received clients, I'm receiving money. Their effort has paid me back in not just, again, not just in money, okay? Of course, money we need to run our business, but like in confidence, in capability, in community, in networking. So there's a lot of paying yourself. You get paid in many different ways. And if we don't see those ways, the likes and the number of people are going to be a metric that is going to easily deter you from your life's work, okay? So, so good. So now that you kind of start to you're understanding your relationship between social media and how you use it, okay? Number 2, what I want to ask you, okay? And then we're gonna review all of these questions. Number 2, no. Oh, okay. No, wait. That's all the questions I have. Okay, so now I'm going to review, okay? What is your perspective in relationship to social media? One thing that we have to understand, just like in the spiritual perspective, I create my reality, right? You've heard that before, and maybe you subscribe to that you literally create your reality. Right? You wake up in a bad mood, you walk outside, and everything is like annoying, and people are annoying, and your neighbor who you normally say hi to, you're like, oh God, I don't want to talk to them. And then you wake up another day and you're in a good mood. And not that either one is good or bad. You're in a good mood and you're like, hey neighbor, let's do lunch. Oh my God, y'all, like, you know, right? You're constantly creating your reality, right? And what I want to tell you about social media, it's the same thing, literally. Okay, so there's this big word, algorithm, right? And we think it's this complex thing, when really what we have to understand is that we create the algorithm, like literally. So what I want to say is, on your Katie's laughing, on your Facebook feed, right? Everything you like, everything you post, everything you comment on, everything you delete, very important, everything that you share, everything you do, you create the algorithm. So let's say, for example, you're always looking at things related to yoga. Lo and behold, you know, Facebook is always going to give you a little bit more yoga stuff, a little bit more yoga workshops, anything related to yoga. People who are also related. Oh, suggested friend list. You'll notice, oh, those are all people like related to yoga. Right? So it's literally your Facebook feed. We often think like, oh my God, it's this big, massive thing. But it's totally created by our own reality, our own vision. So in some sense, you know, Facebook is like this, even though we think it's this big thing, right? Because we literally create it. So if there's certain things you don't want to see, you delete it. It's kind of like, you know, there's certain circles you don't necessarily want to align with, so you don't go there. There are certain people who you do want to hang out, and then you go there. You create your reality, right? Yes, there's many different realities. There's many different atrocities happening in the world. There's many different ideologies. There's many different spiritual practices. There's many types of businesses. There's all of that. But it's not going to come into your feed unless you keep on liking it. So this is where sometimes I see people like, oh my God, all of these negative things about so-and-so and about the, whatever is coming into my feed, oh, I gotta turn it off. But guess what? All you have to do is delete it. And then also, you know, if there are women leaders, if there are male leaders, if there are, you know, certain people that you align with, that your soul aligns with, you know, whether they're big or, you know, people that your next door neighbor, you know, those are the people you literally engage with, and that's what Facebook is going to give to you. So that's one huge thing I think a lot of people don't understand about the algorithm. They make it complicated, but it's literally based around your own vortex. Okay, so very much like the spiritual practice, you create your own reality based on who you surround yourself with, based on what you read, based on what you do on a daily basis, based on what you think. Right? So if you're constantly comparing yourself with other people, that is a reality that is not outside of you, which it looks like it's outside of you. And you're like, oh my God, look at all these people. But that's your own internal, you know, lens of perception. Is this making sense to you guys? Let me know if it's landing for you. Let me know if there's any questions, okay? So big, important understanding of social media is that you have the power, okay? And sometimes we think, oh my God, no. But you do. And even start, you know, go on your like Facebook feed and start to curate it, because it will start to curate around your own, whatever it is you know, whatever it is you align with. Okay, it's pretty simple. Okay, so if you answer number 2, you know, I go down the rabbit hole scrolling and comparing myself. Sometimes one of the reasons, and I get why we do that, one of the big reasons why we do that, the scrolling, the information, is because it makes us feel like we're doing something, right? It's kind of like if we know we need to build a house, and we kind of like, okay, how do we build a house? And then all of a sudden we're down this rabbit hole of all like the information, right? It's gonna kind of like avalanche, and we're gonna like, oh, that house is nice. Oh, that house is even nicer. Oh my God. And then we're just going to sort of go into this kind of like information overload. But it helps us feel like we're doing something. But then again, what we're kind of going in without the clarity of like, well, what kind of house do I want to build? Where do I want to build it? What kind of material do I want to build? What kind of workers do I want to, you know, help me work and building this house? Right? So like entrepreneurship and building your business is very much the same. Right? Anybody has the information, and there's a lot of possibilities on a way of building a house. But if we don't come in with our own clarity, right, into like that rabbit hole, then it's going to sort of just suck us into that vortex, which we've all done it. And so the spiritual practice for this is, instead of doing, ask yourself, what are you being? You see? So instead of, oh my God, I have to do this. Oh my God, I have to promote my business. Oh my God, I have to like catch up in this kind of reactive way of kind of going about building your business, and then comparing yourself and, oh, like, wow, look at the way she's doing it, and look at the way she's doing it, and look at the way he's doing it. And it's like, it just becomes so overwhelming, and there's no clarity. Like, you don't go into, you know, that it's like going into a library and then finding like 20 books on how to build a house. And it's like, but what if you knew, I want to build a tiny house, and it wants to be on the countryside, and it has to be like, I don't know, water resistant underneath because blah, 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 it's near a lake. You know, like when you go, you go in it from that perspective, then you have a little bit more clarity. So the perspective for you as a spiritual entrepreneur is, well, what am I being? What is my message? What is my life's work? What is it I want to speak about today? Right? So today it's like I'm speaking, I have a very clear message for you guys, how to bridge the gap between your social media and business, right? I can speak about a lot of things. If I just speak about spirituality and business, it's very like vague, right? But if I kind of like, ooh, okay, I know that 11 o'clock every week, I'm going to speak to certain people who are digging this, not just everyone. It's really like people who are choosing to be in this group and saying, hey, this kind of sounds interesting. Spirituality and business, it's kind of like my thing. Okay, yoga is kind of my thing, right? You see? So it's like, I'm creating that vortex. I'm creating this community. I'm creating that reality, and you're creating it with me because you're like, oh, that's kind of that the way that person is being, right, is also in alignment with my being. Let me listen. Right? So you want to ask yourself, not what you're doing, because that often comes from this unworthiness, like I'm not doing enough. I'm not enough. What am I doing? And this reactivity of like, right? Versus, right? That place where we want to stay centered, that place where we want to come from, that place of silence, right? You guys talking about meditation, where that clarity naturally comes in those places of meditation and silence. And you guys know this, right? And then, so for those of you who are preparing to use and utilize social media for your life's work, the place you're not going to start is not on social media, right? It's going to be by yourself, sitting, breathing, getting clear, journaling, right? Because again, remember, you're standing on the stage. So it's kind of like standing on the stage with and having like 20 different books and trying to like talk to two people out there from like 20 different references, when it's like, wait a minute, right? What is it for me? What is my life work? The thing that I've been doing this whole time anyway, you're going to be speaking about, and this is what we teach our clients, right? Marketing is not about posturing yourself as this person who is trying to convince the world of what it is that they're doing. It's not about convincing, right? It's about coming to the stage with your own truth, with your own being and your own clarity. You can never go wrong there, right? And that's a huge capability that you begin to build when you truly utilize social media as your platform of truth, right? You can't go wrong. Nobody can tell you your truth other than you. You can't go wrong there, right? And so maybe there might be a structured way. So that's what we teach in our program. How can we speak our truth in a way that kind of creates a structure that allows the people who may benefit from our work to kind of come into the conversation, because they can see themselves in what you're saying. They can see their pain. They can see their possibilities. They can see their truth. They can see their potential, right? So utilizing social media as a way of marketing yourself is really, in essence, from your own being. So as you show up, you're showing up as you. Okay, and then that's one of the biggest things actually I work with spiritual entrepreneurs, is in order for that to happen, we need to clear the spiritual house. We need to clear the imprinted, because we all as human beings have imprinted wounds in the physical body. Okay, so there are certain triggers. Okay, I was out the other day and I was in an area in my neighborhood, and there happened to be like two drunk men, and they ended up fighting, and it was dark, and like that was like a physical trigger for me, right? It was a physical trigger for me. My nervous system was like in flight mode. Okay, and so we all have imprints in the physical body. We have an imprint in the mind. Okay, dark, drunk guy. Okay, danger, right? And I'm not saying that's not dangerous for you guys, but it was definitely my physical somatic body was reacting to that scenario on a kind of much more unconscious, subconscious level, right? I definitely, my nervous system wanted to like get the hell out of there, right? Whereas my friend, she kind of saw it, but she wasn't like, let's get the F out. And actually there's a lot of people in the community who actually went closer and helped these two men actually break up the fight and help the other man up. So what I'm trying to say is that yes, it was a normal reaction, but it was also definitely a somatic reaction. So in our training, we start to see like what are those somatic, which is the body, your soma, in the body that trigger you, because those are deeper wounds, right, that are unconscious. And so whenever you do anything else, whether it be business related, whether it be life related, it's going to come up unless you address it. Another thing is how you see the world, right? It's like if, for example, in my life, if I felt like, well, my dad, I would categorize him as somebody who is an alcoholic, and also who would not always tell the truth, be a little bit more manipulative. So my mind, whenever I would see man, my fight, flight, or freeze, my survival would right away put that story. Do you see? And so we all have a story in terms of our own kind of safety, right? And energetically, very often when we use social media, if we are not aware of our own core wounds, the wounds that unconsciously drive the bus sometimes, and oftentimes, we don't necessarily see when we contract, when not enough people like our posts, when we place all of our self-worth because we're paying attention to the supposed people who are not paying attention, when there's like literally 3 beautiful human beings right in front of you. Do you see that? Right? There's the unconscious, unworthy story, right? And energetic, like, if we've been taught to always dim our light, to play small, that's going to show up, right? When you are on the stage, when you are utilizing the platform, whatever platform, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. I mean, on a practical level, you want to go to the platform where you feel, okay, people are actually are engaging. So for me, that's actually, it's here. Most of my friends and people in my community are tend to be here. Even though like Clubhouse might be cool, or YouTube might be cool, or Instagram might be the thing, or whatever the latest trend. Start with the one where you're like, okay, yeah, this is actually where there's a community. So one of my mottos is go deep before you go wide. So I mean to say, if you have a program that you want to offer to the world, like talk to your existing people, right? And wherever they are, they might be in person or on a certain platform. Right? It's kind of like saying you want to, let's say, start promoting something, and you're going to go to coffee shops that maybe are more aligned with what you do versus ones that aren't, if that makes sense. Okay, so let me know how that's landing for you. Okay, so Katie says, oh, that's good. I know that she was talking about the being versus doing. And Claudia says, I see that. What do you see, Claudia? Okay, so write it down. Okay, so I guess it's the what we were talking about, like in our program, we have to first work with clearing the spiritual house. And then what happens when we do that is that whatever our life's work, because our life's work doesn't just come from some external Google research, it comes from something inside of you that's saying, I work with people to uncover their truth. I work with people to create self-awareness. Like whatever it is, there's something there. And if the spiritual house isn't cleared, it's going to be very difficult to speak your truth, which is the way we teach marketing, is basically speak your truth, right? From a way that is relevant to those you are trying to, like if you are somebody who specializes in chronic back pain, then you'd speak your truth through that lens, So like my perspective on chronic back pain has to do with skeletal alignment, and that's my truth, and that's my experience, right? And that's what you would say. Do you see? So it's not like just speaking your truth, like I just hate yogurt, or like, so, there is, again, you're coming to the stage, not from this place of like the 20 books. You're like, okay, I'm coming to the stage, and I also I have a very specific message I want to give that I know is going to help me, and it's going to also help people in the room, right? So Claudia says, I see that when you said understand our triggers, right? So it's important because the body is so convincing that sometimes, it's like when you're hungry, but then at the same time you get angry. And then it seems like you're so angry, but really the body's like, can you just feed me already? It's you have different brains. You have the physical somatic brain, you have your intellectual brain, like all of those thoughts, all of those intellect, and you have your heart brain. Okay, so we want to start to be conscious of which one is speaking, because sometimes we look through that lens and we don't even realize we're looking through that lens. And then we make some kind of intellectual assessment as to, oh God, I should have been more patient with that person, when really you just needed like to drink water or to like eat more something, right? So like, yeah, my throat right was like, oh, it's a little bit dry. So give the body what it needs, okay? So I hope this is making sense so far. So I'm going to answer. So I spoke to number 1, what is your perspective? And we talked about the algorithm. I spoke to number 2, do you end up going down the rabbit hole, scrolling, comparing myself, lost in information? And I talked about being versus doing. And number 3, you have tried, if you answer the question, what's my relationship to social media? I've tried a few things, but I haven't seen a rate of return. Meaning to say, like, I've tried, okay, I kind of tried this and I kind of tried that. Because what I see a lot of people doing, and again, it's kind of like you're coming onto a platform and not necessarily really understanding how to utilize it. Or you come into the platform and you're just, okay, here guys, here I am. Here, this is it. And you don't necessarily know how to speak to the people in front of you in a way that is speaking to them, right? And speaking to their own truth, their own pain, their own bliss, right? Because I see this often where people are like, they know, okay, I gotta do the social media thing. And so they do it. They're like, okay, and maybe they feel contracted, maybe they feel scared, maybe they're like, oh my God, people are gonna like see who I am, right? And you put the post, and because the way the algorithm works, people at first are gonna be, ooh, cool, and they're digging it and they're liking it. And the thing also you have to understand about, even if you have 5,000 friends, there are just a handful, like literally a handful, I'm not kidding, that are actually seeing your post, because that's what the algorithm will do. It's like whoever's kind of interacting with you is going to see your post. All the 4,980 people are not going to see. Do you see? So sometimes we think, oh my God, all those people are seeing my post. No, my friend. It's just people who really are into you, right? That you engage with your post and you engage with their post. Do you see how simple that is? And so we want to start to understand that that's how the algorithm works, okay? So if you tried something, for example, and you do like a post, and then all of a sudden you do another post, and then it's like, oh, that's people liked it. It's because they're drawing out, the algorithm is drawing out of like literally 15 or 20 people. Okay, so I don't know if you guys know that about Facebook, but that's how it works. Okay, so if you understand that, then you're not gonna place all your self-worth on, oh my God, I didn't get the 17 likes. Oh my God, there's only 2 people, 2 human beings, by the way, that liked it. Okay, one of the values that I have in business, and Katie knows this, is business is human. Okay, so you have 2 people who could be possibly potential clients. They can be possibly your cheerleaders. They're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I so much aligned with what you're doing, right? Because you want those people in your vortex. They could be networkers or like, hey, I really like your message. Maybe we want to talk about this on together over coffee, over maybe you want to come on my Facebook page or YouTube or Instagram and do some kind of like interview, right? So the other thing I talk about is pay attention to those who are paying attention to you. Where we often go out of whack is we pay attention to the supposed people, all of the other people who are not paying attention to us. But it's like those 4,980 people, they aren't paying attention to us because they're not actually even seeing the feed. Okay, so it's kind of like putting out the same thing to 20 people, and then some are working, some are on vacation, some didn't see your thing because they are not on social media that day. Like, you see, so you want to start to pay attention to those who pay attention to you, right? It's kind of one of the examples I like to give is like, let's say you have a yoga studio, and then it starts getting really busy, right? And then a new person walks in. And they're like, hey, please tell me about your life's work. Oh my gosh, I love the way, you're talking about, finding your truth, all this business. And then you're like looking at all of those other people out there, right? And you're too busy paying attention to that. Then, oh my gosh, there's a person right in front of me, literally, and I fail to see that human. Right? Because business is human. Those are your clients. Okay, so one like is one person, one human soul. And for some reason, I don't know why, we're like, oh my God, like only 2 likes. Well, yeah, you can look at it that way, where it's only, or you can look at it like, wow, oh my gosh, it's like Claudia and Katie are here, and we're interacting as human beings. Wow, how much I appreciate their time and attention, and I truly value guys, like, I truly do, right? And I could spend all my time worrying about the 4,980 people when really the people who's most important are right in front of me right now. Okay, so that's super important to start to understand, because in the premium spaces, what I teach, okay, premium means, okay, so what we do in our program is that, one, like I said, we clear our spiritual house. Okay, wait, let me see what Claudia says. Okay, Claudia says, I'm learning and enjoying and developing personalized relationships with my dedicated students one-on-one, right? We can spend so much time, all of those other people, but it's like you have human beings right in front of you wanting and needing what it is that you have to offer. So give it to them, and have it be this exchange. So what I teach my clients is we clear the spiritual house. I help you distill your life's work, okay? Because sometimes we might have an idea of our life's work, but it's a little bit broad, right? So sometimes we kind of need to narrow in it a little bit, so that, because if you're speaking to everyone, you're kind of speaking to no one. It's kind of like saying, I own a coffee shop, everybody. But if somebody's into organic coffee, Italian coffee, special lattes, they like all those things, and you're like the, franchise, then that's not the coffee shop for them, right? So it's the same thing with your work. You may be into healing and into transformation and finding your truth, but there's something kind of specific on your journey, specific where they are now to an outcome that you want to make clear. And that's what we teach, is how to distill your message in a way that is crystal clear for those who are like, oh yeah, she deals with back pain, okay, she's my woman, right? So I help spiritual entrepreneurs bridge that gap between their spiritual practice and business, right? So it's like, because I can talk about spirituality, now I can talk about business, or I can, and it like, I have to kind of make it clear, like, that's what I help you guys do. I help you heal your core wounds. I help you distill what it is, like the life's work that you have to offer, and I teach you guys to sell it at a premium. I'm cherishing the human interaction like this. Yeah, right? Like how precious is this? When it comes down to, the end of our life, are we going to care about all of those people who weren't paying attention because they really aren't, because they're not even actually on the actual algorithm? Or are you going to care about like that, the every day that I said hi to my neighbor who smiles at me and looks at me in that very kind of way that acknowledges who I am? that, you know, that client I have of Claudia, or that, you know, team member I have of Katie, like that's the thing I'm going to cherish in the end. So that's also what you guys want to start to see when you're starting to promote your life's work out in the world. You want to really see, what is it that is important to me? Because if it's the likes, then the longevity of what you're doing is going to fizzle out. And so that's also the key to consistency. You must start to see, what is it, what values am I being, and am I continuing to align with those values every single time I step on the platform? Okay, because that's what the spiritual practice is about, right? If you're on the mat teaching your students, you know, does it matter if it's one person or 1,000 people? What matters, okay, is that you're stepping onto that mat with your truth in your center, and you're showing up as clear as you possibly can. We're all human. We're not going to be perfect, but as clear as you possibly can. Like, what is my message for myself and my community today, right? And that's what creates consistency. Okay, so you might hear this a lot, is that one of the big things that as on the entrepreneurial journey is that there needs to be some sort of consistency. You must start at zero, meaning to say you must start with yourself. So all of this work that you guys are talking about, your life's work, that kind of had to have already started. That's the work that you've already done. I can't give that to you. I can help you distill it and make it more clear, but I can't give you that. That's your own soul's journey, okay? And then number two, what was I talking about now? I lost my train of thought because my husband is in a meeting and I'm listening to him. Okay, so what we want to start to understand, oh yeah, consistency. That was what I was talking about. Consistency. Consistency, right? Is going to come from, one, you start at zero, and then one person. Can you speak to one person in your truth about your life's work in a way that you stand in your center? And then it starts with 2, and then it starts with 3, and then it starts with 4. And the cool thing, and that's why I love to teach spiritual entrepreneurs about coming into the premium space. In the premium space, I teach you guys how to offer your services from a place where you distill a program, an 8 to 12 week program, at a 3K, 4K, 5K, 10K, whatever you want. Premium, that's what premium pricing is. So you price it there, right? Because you have this life-altering outcome that you give them, right? So imagine it's like somebody who can barely get out of bed with chronic anxiety, which is, for example, one of my clients that I was working with, and he was trying everything, where it's like he tried the, therapy, he tried seeing a nurse, he tried changing his diet, he tried reading all the books, he tried more exercise. Okay, love you, Jamie. See you on Monday. Yay! Thank you, Claudia. Okay, so Claudia is one of my beloved soulmate clients. And so that's it. You get to interact. So with the premium model, you get to interact with really the people who are truly aligning with your life's work and who are ready, right? So you give this sort of like life-altering outcome that they want because you're speaking about it, okay? That's what I talk about when you distill your life's work. And you bring them to the other side because you have brought yourself there, okay? And you've developed processes to bring yourself there. So I've helped people, especially when it comes to premium. It's not about the pricing with most spiritual entrepreneurs. It's actually the mindset around it. Because when you jump from dollar per hour model to premium, it's almost like, what this is possible? Like, it's a whole other paradigm. So we work on that in our program. Okay. Oh, that's beautiful what you said. Soulmate client. Yes. And I truly do believe that. Okay. So yes, right. And so the process I teach our clients is to charge at a premium, continue to speak your truth so that those who are ready, because there are certain people on a certain healing journey and a healing timeline that are not ready, but as you consistently show up, they become ready, okay? And I'm jumping a little bit all over the place. And so like one of my clients who started working with me in April, she's like, yeah, I've been interacting with your lives. I love them since October. So like, that's like 6 months. And I didn't even realize she was even, watching. Okay. It's kind of like when you see that coffee shop that you've always wanted to check out, or that new store, you don't go in right away usually. Right? And even when you go in, you just kind of look, you don't necessarily buy. And then you sort of like, okay, maybe you buy one thing, or maybe you like talk to the owner. It's a relationship. And if that coffee shop goes away tomorrow, then it's like, oh, well, then there's the human relationship is not built. So it's the same thing for social media. You have to start at 0, which is you. You then 1, then 2, then 3, and understand that consistency, that those people, right? And Katie, exactly, potential clients are all around. And what we have to understand is that, I don't know where my coach got this, but she said 90% of the people who are your potential clients are invisible to you. So it doesn't mean they're actually, like, there are quite a few people who are watching this, like who are going to be watching this and who will never interact. If that's you, say hi, okay? Will never interact with this content until they're ready. But what I would suggest, if that's you, if you feel like, I'm just gonna watch, interact, because it will also help you process whatever it is faster, right? Than, taking that kind of like invisible stance. Okay, so bring yourself out into the world, bring what it is that you do, your life's work, out into the world. And that's the baby steps. Right, I did a whole other workshop training on how to achieve your big goals. You can scroll down and watch that whole hour deep dive breakthrough training. So what I'm trying to say to you guys is that model, right, the premium model, can equivalent to a rate of return which could be like a 4-figure, 5-figure month for you, right? So this is where perhaps sometimes on a very practical level, if we're only looking at how many people, 3, how many likes, 8, right? It's actually the wrong metric. And what I suggest that you look at really is, 1, am I continuing to consistently show up in my truth, right? Have I kind of distilled what it is I do in a way that I can put it out in such a way that are addressing the needs of my clients, right? Or my potential clients, or my community, right? Am I doing it in a way that I understand my rate of return financially, but also not just financially, in my own confidence, right? My own capability, my own ability to communicate my truth, my own ability to build community, my own ability to speak. If I'm sitting on the platform and there's 3 other people in front of me, can I speak to those people? Okay, so that's what I teach you when you come into the Breakthrough Yoga Coaching Program. We teach you those 3 steps. Heal your core wounds, distill your life's work, and sell at a premium so that it's affordable for everyone. Meaning to say, the people who really are ready, right, and are waiting for what it is that you give them, because sometimes we don't even realize how much, that so many people in our community, especially if it's something that's true for you, it's going to be true for them. For the longest time, it was very difficult for me to bridge that gap between, spirituality and business, because I actually had a lot of internal shame about it. Right? And I actually, even externally, people were like, "Whoa, no, that doesn't go together," And so I had to get over my own sense of abandonment, my own sense of rejection, in order for me to really just show up here consistently, speaking my truth. Okay, so